Welcome to the June 21st regular council meeting of the City of Dauphin. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Assiniboine, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and homeland of the Métis Nation. We affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. It was moved by Councillor Eiler, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts the regular agenda as presented. Any questions? Call the question. Moved by Councillor Eiler, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be it resolved that Council waives the reading and accepts and approve as circulated the minutes of the following meetings: the special council meeting of May 31st, 2021, and the regular council meeting of June 7th, 2021. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Sticilo. Seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be it resolved that all items listed under item 5 consent agenda be approved as follows and form part of these minutes. We have one action item, a proclamation of National Indigenous Peoples Day. Be it resolved that Council when goes consent agenda proclaim National Indigenous Peoples Day. Be it resolved June 21st as National Indigenous Peoples Day, as recommended by the mayor and city manager. So whereas June 21st, National Indigenous Peoples Day, is the 25th anniversary of celebrating the heritage, diverse cultures, and valuable contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people to our country, province, and communities. And whereas National Indigenous Day is also an opportunity to come together to share the experience of Indigenous culture, traditional food, dance, storytelling, and games. And whereas collectively we recognize the courage of residential school survivors and their families and grieve the suffering loss of 215 Indigenous children found near the site of Canada's largest residential school in Kamloops. And whereas we believe that every child matters and that meaningful steps towards reconciliation in a spirit of respect, cooperation, and partnership are more important than ever. We, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do proclaim June 21st, 2021, National Indigenous Peoples Day. And we'll have more on that later. Filing items, AMM news bulletins, June 4th, 2021, June 18th, 2021, FCM Connect, June 11th, And June 15th, media releases. Premier Brian Pallister becomes new chair of Canada's premiers. Premier vaccine lottery to encourage immunization. Premier small outdoor gatherings to be permitted, and numerous COVID-19 bulletins. Municipal relation, educational property tax rebate, frequently asked questions, and COVID-19 update for municipalities. Treaty 2 update June 4th. Connect 150, free trees and sacred laws. And CN News release, 94 million investment in Manitoba's rail network. Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development, Dutch Elm Disease Surveys, YWCA, Women's Shelter Learn and Lunch Series on Domestic Violence. Lakeland, Alberta, Bill C-21, changes to the Criminal Code and Firearms Act, enabling an accessibility fund, federal grant opportunity, Travel Manitoba, two doses in 2 weeks, DRCSS outdoor classroom project update, as recommended by the mayor and city manager. Any questions? Call the questions. Motion carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information. The following corporate report for the June 21st regular council meeting and that of the city manager. Go ahead, city manager, and welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been, it feels like, I think about 3 weeks since I've been in the office, and I thank everybody for their help during my absence. In that time, and since the last meeting, which was on June 7th, I've attended a few meetings. Most of them have been virtual attendance. In terms of updates, COVID-19, current public health orders do not require any changes to our operations at our city facilities. At the time that I was writing, the cases were quite high. So I just were reminding all of our staff that we are diligent in following the personal and cleaning health protocols. It was great to see some of the numbers come down over the weekend and including today, specifically in Dauphin. I do talk a little bit in my report that over the last 2 weeks I've been working from home as my health has allowed. While I'm recovering from COVID-19, I did physically attend work 1.5 days in the last 2 weeks. Most of my work encompassed attending the above meetings, keeping up with email correspondence, and assuring that there was correspondence or emails that came to me were disseminated as appropriate. Something to note that's not in my report, but I did receive word today. Back in February, the city of Dauphin applied for 3 Building Sustainable Communities grants. And we got word today that one of those grants was awarded to the city of Dauphin, and that is for the development plan review. So it's a $15,000 grant so that we can redo our development plan this year. So that is good news. And in summary, there were 8 projects submitted from Dauphin, and 4 of those projects did receive grants. So Dauphin community groups are getting some funding. We will see those formally announced, I think, in the coming few days from the province. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, city manager. Any questions of the city manager? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be it resolved that the corporate report of the ICT manager Any questions of the report? Seeing none, motion carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that finance accounts have been examined by council, be hereby authorized and approved as follows. Check numbers 28186 to 28257. That's 72 checks for $749,435.18. Some of the big ones over 15. Co-op for fuel, 16,752.72. The DRS June payment and some retroactive stuff, 173,000 and 104.29. Dauphin Public Library, third quarter, 16,366.25. Beach Printing, the Visitor's Guide, 119,264.65. Parkland Regional Library, the third quarter payment, $18,307.19. The Receiver General, 41 for May, June deductions, 41,924.74. To the Receiver General for the policing contract, January to March, 300,000. And Westburn Electric, it's a SCADA license, software licensing, $15,918.78.
Yes, so we spend about, what is it, 17,000 on the visitor guide. Would it be possible for us to have a copy at our desk? Is usually the process that we had in previous years.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can arrange to have that by the end of this meeting.
Thank you.
Any other?
Question, Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask how the visitor guides are going to be distributed, what the plan is going to be, because it's a little bit different this year. And also, is there a digital copy of that? Would that be something that would be on the city's website?
So I think I can answer some of that. In speaking with our marketing coordinator before her leave, we are working with different organizations in town to distribute the printed material. But it's true that some of those numbers are down because people are not offering some of the printed material. We've worked also with other municipalities in the Parkland to promote visiting and tourism within the Parkland. So we are distributing some visitor guides to different municipalities that we might not have before. We're also working on a new distribution, process with Travel Manitoba to get some visitor guides out to, again, different areas in Manitoba to promote tourism within Manitoba and specifically to bring to the Parkland.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the unaudited financial statements before FASB adjustments for the period ending March 31st, general fund balance sheet and general fund income statement, utility fund balance sheet and utility fund income statement. Any questions of the reports? Call the question. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the reserve report for March 2021. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eiler, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Whereas the Audit and Finance Committee reviewed the 2020 audited financial statement at their meeting June 21st, 2021, and whereas the Audit and Finance Committee recommends Council approve the 2020 audited statements, and be it resolved that the annual statements for the year ended December 30, 2020 be approved, and Council authorizes the Mayor and Deputy Mayor to sign the statements on behalf of the municipal corporation. Just wanted to read the auditor's brief auditor's report. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statement present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the City of Dauphin as of December 31st, 2020. The results of its consolidated operation, change in net financial assets, cash flows, and supporting schedules for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian Public Accounting Standards. What it all means is we got a clean audit report, and I thank Director of Finance and his staff for hard work in getting a clean report. It means we're doing our financial diligence all the time. Any questions? All in favor? Motion. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Kylo. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the following engineering department staff reports for the June 21st, 2021 meeting, that of the building inspector. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council accepts and information the following Protective Services report for the June 21st, 2021 regular council meeting. That of the Animal Control Officer, April 2021. Any questions? Councillor Eilers.
Yes, I still am getting complaints about the rabbits. So you can mention that to the animal control. I did see down our street 4 of them last week. And fortunately, we had a little dog that decided that he could take them on, and he was smaller than the rabbits. So I thought it was very, very brave of him. Had a loud bark.
Yeah, they're, I don't know. We put, it's the worst year I've ever had. Yeah, it just. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Eilers, whereas Provincial Trunk Highway PTH 5A / Main Street South, which services as the main south access point into Dauphin, has seen significant commercial development that has resulted in increased traffic and collision rates. Be it resolved that council accepts this information, the news release dated June 9th, 2021, from Infrastructure Minister Ron Schuler, advising that the Manitoba government will invest more than 13 million to reconstruct the provincial highway PTH 5A Main South to improve safety by reducing access points, constructing service roads along the east and west sides, improving the intersections and traffic flow, and developing a 4-lane divided roadway, with the project expected to begin in the 2022-23 construction season to be completed before Dauphin hosts the Manitoba Summer Games in 2024. That's certainly good news for Dauphin, and thank the government for coming forward on moving the construction date by about 4 years. So it's a lot of action in the south end next year. Right, Mike? That's the plan. Thank you. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Kyle. Moved by, oh wait, no. Okay. Whereas the Accessibility for Manitoba's Act, the Manitoba government is requiring municipalities to meet accessibility standards related to customer service, employment, and information and communications, the built environment, and transportation. And whereas in compliance with the first accessibility standard, the City of Dauphin implemented an accessibility customer service in December 2018 and was reviewed and updated in November 2020. Be it resolved, the Council accepts as information a memorandum dated June 10th, 2021 from the Executive Assistant, noting that the following policies would meet the requirements for the second accessibility standard: accessible employment. Accessible employment policy 3.8 will ensure that barriers to accessibility and address in the city's recruiting, hiring, and employment of staff. Individualized accommodation plan 3.9 will provide employees with the opportunity to request an individualized accommodation plan should a disability present barriers to completing their work and participating in an inclusive, safe, and functional work environment. Further, be it resolved that Council approves both accessible employment policy 3.8 and individualized accommodation plan policy 3.9. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Whereas ICT technology acceptable use of policy 2.6 came into effect January 21st and has been an important document in guiding city operations with respect to use of ICT resources and general information security. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a memorandum dated June 21st, 2021 from the ICT manager, noting that it was necessary to update the acceptable use policy to address the following issues: mobility device departure from the City of Dauphin account and respect to outstanding contacts, mobility device as a city's provider from Bell MTS, resulting in a new plan pricing expansion of the multi-factor authentication to produce whose access to SharePoint files as an important step in ensuring protection of the city's files and documentation. Further be it resolved that Council approves ICT Accessible Use Policy 2.6.1, which reflects these changes. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Sticilo. Whereas the City of Dauphin entered into a lease agreement in July 2011 with Manitoba Infrastructure Accommodation Services Division for Manitoba Prosecution Services to occupy space CNR plate for a term of 5 years, and whereas in 2021 I exercised the option provided in clause 37 to extend for additional 5 years on the same terms and condition, including rent to June 30th, 2021. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated June 4th, 2021 from Diane Berg, RPA leasing consultant for Manitoba Central Services, and a memorandum dated June noting that the province of Manitoba requests to exercise the holdover provision as defined in section 24 of their lease of space at CNR Place, which would allow monthly tenancy under the original terms of the lease following the expiry date of June 30th, 2021. Further be it resolved that Council approves the holder of the lease with Manitoba Infrastructure Prosecution Services on a month-by-month basis, during which time holdover and or renewal terms will be negotiated. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor?
Next month we're doing this.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Eilers, whereas the City of Dauphin has received requests and inquiries from local restaurants proposing to expand their existing patio spaces or create new patio spaces due to COVID-19 public health restrictions on dining. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a memorandum dated June 8, 2021 from the Director of Public Works and Operations outlining patio guidelines and requirements to be followed in the preparation of development permits to be issued for the temporary use of these patio facilities, and recommending that the standard development permit fee of $100 be waived for 2021 as a compassionate response to the special challenges faced by restaurant industry as a result of COVID-19 public health restrictions. And further be it resolved that council agrees with the recommendation of the Director of Public Works and Operations and approve the waiving of the $100 development fee for 2021 for local businesses wishing to create or expand outdoor seating capacity to comply with the requirements mandated by public health. Any questions? Call the question. Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Whereas the 1998 GM Safari van owned by the City of Dauphin was deemed by our city mechanics to be unsafe for operation and was removed from service, and was advertising to a competitive bid process as a surplus asset as per city's tendering procurement policy, and whereas no bids were received for the 1998 Safari van were received, thereby deeming it destined for the scrapyard. Be it resolved that council accepts as information a memorandum dated June 17th from the Director of Finance recommending that after completion of an unsuccessful asset disposal, the 1998 be donated to the Dauphin Fire Department for use in vehicle extrication training by removing the vehicle from the City of Dauphin asset listing. And furthermore, further be it resolved that council agrees with the recommendation from the Director of Finance and authorizes the 1998 GMC Safari van be allocated to the Dauphin Fire Department for vehicle extrication and rollover training, fitting in for the vehicle affectionately known as the pumpkin. Any questions?
Just a comment.
Vehicle. Yeah.
We know how Mr. Carr got so much life out of that male stamper in the office there. It looks like he's getting extra life here out of the pumpkin too. So well done, Mr. Carr.
Okay. Yeah, it's I remember it being named a pumpkin for some reason. I can't remember what. No, but who suggested it? I can't remember. But anyway, motion carried. Goodbye, pumpkin. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Deputy Mayor Loughlin, whereas systemic racism has fueled an increase in acts of violence against racialized, particularly affecting Black, Indigenous, and Asian Canadians, and whereas the senseless murder of a Muslim family in London, Ontario, serves as a tragic reminder we must take a strong stance from Islamophobia and against all forms of hatred and racism. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated June 17, 2021 from U.S. Minister Burnaby, MP Peter Julian, requesting Council's endorsement of his House of Commons motion M64-84, anti-hate crimes and incidents, and his private members bill C-313, banning symbols of hate act. Further be it resolved that Council encourages the federal government to take immediate steps to prevent hate crimes discrimination and the display and symbols of hate in Canada, and endorses Peter Julian's motion M84 and BC Bill, I guess, Bill C313. Any questions? Motion carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan and seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information correspondence dated June 14th, 2021 from Amanda LeDrew, Executive Director of Neighborhood Renewal, reaching out to the City of Dauphin to create a partnership to acknowledge and bring awareness to Dauphin's LGBTQ2+ community by designating one high visibility crosswalk to be painted in pride colors. Further be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a memorandum dated June 18th, 2021, from the Director of Public Works expressing support for the project and will bring recognition to the LGBTQ2+ community, but noting that his research into the manual for uniform traffic control devices in Canada, and the provincial traffic control devices regulation 13/2019, which mandates compliance with standardized signage and street markings across Canada, determined that a pride crosswalk would pose potential liabilities in its non-conformance to the MUTCDC guidelines. Further be it resolved that Council affirms its support for measures that promote safety, inclusion, and belonging to our community, and agrees with the recommendation from the Director of Public Works and Operations to work with the NRC to come up with an alternative plan for a project that would provide recognition support for our LGBTQ2+ friends, family, and neighbors and co-workers in Dauphin. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Eilers, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated April 26, 2021 from Shirley Bolmack, District Supervisor, Manitoba Assessment Services, advising that the annual sitting of the Board of Revision for the 2020-22 assessment roll is scheduled for Monday, December 6, 2021 at 5 p.m. Any questions? Call a question. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information and events listed below. The invitations are from Rural Manitoba Economic Development Corporation virtual launch on June 22nd, 2021. I've registered. Anybody else? Oh, okay. So we got good representation. Community events, Canada Day Drive-In fireworks. City Manager, could you provide more details on that one?
Certainly. So our Canada Day fireworks will go off as usual on Canada Day. However, all of our information will contain a caveat that says stay in your car or stay very near to your car. We have passed the process by public health and they have approved a drive-in fireworks display.
Good. And it's usually at dusk, isn't it?
10:45.
10:45.
10:45.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Councillor Iris.
Thank you. On June the 7th, I attended the City Council in person. On June the 14th, Planning and Priority meeting. On June 15th, there was a virtual cast on the DRS and the co-op on a grant from Co-op Community Spaces for a total of $115,000 to the Toboggan Hill. Congratulations. I think this is a worthwhile project. And today I toured the waste disposal site. I've been working on CIB projects. I just wanted to reiterate the co-op has partnered with Loop Resources. There was a recent power outage that occurred and it took out several blocks, including the co-op grocery store. What they did is they contacted local farmers who had signed up with Loop Resources, and all product was given to the farmers to feed to their animals. And due to it not being in a safe temperature zone, that meant that it's not viable for it to be for human consumption. And just to reiterate, nothing went to the landfill. The second part that I wanted to mention is Co-op renews sponsorship with the cinema. They provided $25,000. And I just wanted to say the Co-op is truly a community builder in these various efforts that they have done to make our community a better place to live, work, and play. And on a final note, today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. To celebrate the heritage and diverse culture and valuable contribution of the First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. And I also wanted to say that today is the summer solstice, and really we have now the longest day of the year. So I guess we're going to stay up longer because the sun is going to be shining. No, Mike has decided that he's going to have an early night. He's tired. So that ends my report.
Deputy Mayor Laughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, on June the 7th, I attended the regular council meeting in person here at City Hall. The next day, I took part in the Dauphin District Chamber of Commerce's State of the District. That was the online presentation there. On June 14th, the Strategic Planning and Priorities meeting here at City Hall in person as well. The next day, an active living and transportation meeting in person at City Hall here. Lots of great discussion there. Actually, in case you missed it, just downtown here on First Avenue Southeast, that path has now been paved. We've heard just a ton of compliments from this, and we're definitely going to be taking those compliments with us going forward when it comes to active living and transportation and the bike paths. On June 15th as well, I attended the check presentation from Co-op to Dauphin Rec Services, as Councillor Eilers mentioned, for the toboggan run. That's going to be really cool when that's up and running. Toboggan run, warming shack, a canteen there, and I believe it is like year round. It's not just winter. It goes in the summer too. So that's really going to be awesome. The next day, June 16th, I took part in the liaison meeting with the rural municipality of Dauphin. That was in person, and lots of good discussion there as well at the RM office. June 21st, obviously today, went down to the Manitoba Métis Federation's Community Center here in Dauphin and took in some of the National Indigenous Peoples Day festivities. Of course, they were giving out their free Bannock Burger lunch. It's over now, so sorry for anyone that is hearing this now and hungry. Went from about 11 till 1 o'clock this afternoon. Also today, took part in the new section at the Dauphin, or the tour, sorry, at the Dauphin Waste Disposal Site. Thanks to the Director of Public Works and Operations, Mike Van Elstein, for doing that for us, and Daryl Aiken was there as well. And finally, just before this meeting took place, I attended the Audit and Finance meeting here at City Hall, and that ends my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We'll go by the people on the screen. Councillor Juba.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, June 7th, attended these were all virtual meetings. Attended the regular City Council meeting at City Hall. On the June 10th, attended the Dauphin and District Chamber of Commerce meeting. On the 14th, I attended the Planning and Priorities meeting. Today, I was at the waste disposal site for the guided tour as well. Audit and Finance meeting right before this meeting. Some community events. June the 8th, I attended Parkland Toastmasters by virtual. 16th, attended Habitat for Humanity's Dauphin chapter board meeting. From that meeting, we're getting very close to some special announcements, but before we can make any other announcements, we're looking for a site manager. So if there's anybody out there who's looking for some extra cash and get a hold of Darren Eddy, we're asking you to get a hold of Darren Eddy and provide your credentials, and so that we can get a site manager for our bill. That's going to be announced hopefully very soon. On June the 18th, I just want to wish happy retirement to Gabe Mercy, director of the Assiniboine Parkland campus. Joined in the drive-by. There was the drive-by event. It was well attended. There was a lot of vehicles in attendance to wish Gabe a happy retirement. And to end my report, I just want to acknowledge National Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's important day among Canadians for many reasons. So that ends my report.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For council work, since the last council meeting earlier this month, I attended the Strategic Planning and Priorities meeting, plus the RM liaison meeting at the RM office. Some of the items that we discussed there were the cemetery and the business park on the west side of the city. Also, if you see someone with the fluorescent vest and protective equipment checking the trees in your yard, particularly if you live fairly close to the river, that may be a government inspector in town checking for Dutch elm disease or the emerald ash borer. They will have identification that they can show you. This is part of the provincial program to keep our community trees healthy and beautiful into the future. I also attended the waste disposal site tour. So all that hazardous waste that people have been storing up because we didn't have that event last September, you can now take that out to the waste disposal site, and they have places for all of it and plans for all of that stuff too. community event, the toboggan slide was mentioned. I just want to mention that the co-op is a huge supporter in our community, and they gave an even larger amount of money to the Northgate Trails only 2 years ago. There were almost 1,000 applications, and the people that wrote this grant did a really super job, and co-op is supporting it. So I just want to encourage everyone that supports co-op with their business to keep doing that, because our support of co-op enables them to make these kinds of grants possible for our communities. The DRS grad is coming up this Saturday. Congratulations to all those students who've successfully completed their high school requirements, and best wishes for your future journeys. Certainly the resilience and patience that you practiced in the last year and a half will serve you well in your future. And I just want to say kudos to the province for giving us the go-ahead for that access road at the south end. We've been talking about it for a long time, so it's nice to see that moving forward. With regards to vaccines in our community, they are also doing 60 walk-up spots every day. So, you know, that may work better for you than a schedule, so you can drop in and you can check out. And pretty cool now that you can qualify for one of those $100,000 prizes. Actually, there's 2 of them in our health district, or one of those $25,000 scholarships. So whatever works for you, please get your vaccine to protect yourself, your loved ones, your neighbors, and your workmates. And in closing, yes, today is a very special day in our community, in our country, the National Indigenous Peoples Day. Of course, with the discovery in Kamloops, that's created all sorts of discussion, and we're getting lots of information, lots of very painful stories, but very necessary. And it's just good to be journeying together and moving forward and seeing where this leads us. It will lead us to a better place. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare. Councillor Stakilo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For myself, June 7th, regular council meeting. On June 9th, DNRC, we had a strategic planning session. I've talked about this in the past as sort of the lead up to us holding our first planning session. And as I've stated, we're reviewing and updating the strategic plan. And thoroughly went through our current plan and reviewed the priorities and objectives within it. We're looking to see if some of the past priorities are still relevant, and or if we need to focus some attention on some new priority areas. The last plan was created in 2017, and a lot has happened in our city over the past few years. So DNRC is very fortunate to have a very thorough and comprehensive strategic plan currently, based on the resources available to the organization. Some of the current objectives within the plan include improve neighborhood capacity and empowerment, improve housing conditions, increase economic development activity, improve safety conditions, and increase access to recreation and wellness opportunities. As a group, during the review, we felt that there was a lot of opportunity for collaboration with other organizations and groups within the city, and I'm sure that'll continue as a direction for our board as we continue down the review of this of our current strategic plan. The session was also just followed up with a group survey last week that will be presented. The results of that will just be presented at our next meeting, and we'll work off that to go forward, crafting out the new strategic plan. In addition to that, on June 14th, I was also in attendance for the Planning and Priorities meeting. And I was unable to attend the waste disposal site tour this afternoon that was organized by staff and attended by other councillors. So I just want to say thank you to staff for organizing that. However, I was able to have my own individual tour on Saturday as I utilized the site myself and took some materials out to the waste disposal site. So it's a nice facility and very convenient and easy to use. So we're really fortunate to have that within the city. And with that, that ends my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Stakilo. My report, on June 14th, I attended the Strategic Planning and Priorities meeting. 15th was a busy day. I brought virtual greetings to the grant that Co-op gave to building the hill, the kind of 365 usage, and 115,000, and what a contributor to our community, the Dauphin Super Co-op and the federated system. You know, they've been very generous to our community, and we thank them for their community spirit in helping bring projects to our community. And also mentioned by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, we had an active transportation and living meeting, and a lot of good discussion and future plans for the bike and plans, bike paths and sidewalks, and we'll be continuing our work. I think there's a meeting in July, right? So it's on track and it's very good. On the 18th, drive-by retirement to Parkland Director Guy Mercier. Thank you for to Braden. She printed some banners and all that on it. It's sort of a, you know, good recognition of the work that Gabe has done, and wish him a best in retirement. Today I brought greetings at the Indigenous Peoples Day, and they gave us a flag to be, and requested that this be hung only on national, I guess the summer solstice, or the national Indigenous. I'm coming to it. And on Rui Riel Day. So just on those 2 days, I'll pass it over to you. And of course, we were treated to some Bannock burgers and that, and they've done a lot to our community, and they certainly are an economic driver on a lot of projects with the head office or the office building and the daycare, and there's a couple of seniors projects being planned in the area. So keep up the good work. Thank you. Today we had an audit and finance meeting, clean audit report, and I think that brings me to the end. Stay safe, get vaccinated. Thank you, and have a great day. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Stakila. Be it resolved that council meeting be recessed at